Hi, this is Jim Talone for the Stone Harbor Museum. Today we're having a discussion about the miracle on 81st Street. When I first started working at the Stone Harbor Museum, I didn't really know about the vibrant African American community on 81st Street that was there before the town existed. In the 1910 census, there were half a dozen people of color residing in the old Harbor Inn at 83rd Street while they worked through the winter to level the dunes and lay out the streets that would become Stone Harbor. In the early days, the center of town started at 83rd Street and went up to 96th Street, and the African American community settled on the undeveloped land at 81st Street and 82nd Street. There was no official town segregation, but the community grew and settled in just that area. Workmen were brought in by the Risley brothers, and they found that the work was steady. They brought in their wives, who found cooking and domestic work here, and the community grew. More families moved in for the work, and children were born. The kids had plenty of friends to play with, and when they walked to the new four-room school at 93rd Street, they found that they were accepted there and they got a first-rate education. The miracle in the title was the creation of a community that built a good life out of hard work, a great attitude, and a sense of community that was bigger than their homes. The children of laborers and domestics became teachers and doctors and businessmen and lawyers. This was a tight-knit community that offered its members support and friendship. The old were revered, and the young were challenged to be their best. In 1947, the publisher of a national comic book commissioned a story on the local Roberson family that featured Mom, Dad, and all of the 6 children. The community was never wealthy, but the people owned their own homes and supported the AME church that was built on 81st Street way back in 1917. The community survived the Depression by sticking together and working hard. But when land values increased in the 60s and 70s, they joined most of the other working families from Stone Harbor and moved off the island to cheaper land available in the courthouse. Today's Zoom meeting will bring together people who grew up here and remember the glory days from the 40s to the 80s.
Okay, I'm Doris Reddick. I was born in Camden, New Jersey, in Cooper Hospital. My mother and father were living in Stone Harbor, but there was no hospital in there, so that's why I was born in Camden. But we were living in Stone Harbor on 229 81st Street in Stone Harbor, New Jersey, with my grandmother and grandfather, and that's where I grew up, in Stone Harbor.
What year was that, if we can ask?
1931. I'm 89 years old.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
I don't know who's the next. Who's the next? Sharon?
Hi. Yeah, I'm Sharon Anderson Lewis. I was born in 1955 at Burdett Tomlett Hospital, which is now Cape Regional. And my parents were Catherine and Arthur Anderson, and they had a home at 230 81st Street. Actually directly across the street from my grandmother, my mother's mother, Roseanne's mother and father. And I went to elementary school, K through 8, in Stone Harbor, to Stone Harbor Elementary School.
Great. I don't know who's.
Okay,
Rose.
I'm Rose Hudgins Hall. I grew up in Stone Harbor. I was born in 1945. I attended the Stone Harbor Elementary School from, I guess, kindergarten to 8th grade. And then I went to Middle Township. And that's about me.
Okay, how about Greg? You weren't born here or didn't grow up, but you're a sort of wild card here.
I'm Greg Hudgins. I was born in 1946 in the village of Port Chester, New York. We moved to Swainston in 1950, 51. And I worked in Stone Harbor for quite a few years and played ball over there and stuff. So I spent a lot of time in Stone Harbor.
Right. And also courting.
Yeah, that was part of it too.
Okay. Angela, how about you?
Hi, I'm Angela Rodriguez Moore. I was born in 1968 at Burdett Tomlin Memorial Hospital, which is now Cape Regional. My parents are Angela Rodriguez. My mother is Rose McCargo Rodriguez, who is from Stone Harbor on 228 81st Street. And my grandparents were James and Lita McCargo.
Okay, that's got us started. Let's throw out a first question. This community based around 81st Street was pretty unusual from what I can gather. To anybody here, why? What was special about growing up there?
Everybody on 81st Street was black, for one thing.
Okay.
That was one thing.
And just about related.
And just everybody just about related, one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Angela, you look just like your mother when she was your age. Oh, I can see it. Oh, my goodness, you're like your mother. Oh, didn't she? You know, she just like Rose. Oh.
Thank you. Yeah, there's definitely a sense of community and family. Everyone played together, swam together, ate together. It was good times at the church, fellowship together at the church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would like to say that another good thing about growing up on 81st Street is you had maybe the best of both worlds, because you had your community, your relatives and your friends, your church, right there on your block. And then you had the larger community at your at your disposal, where you had your school and all the fun activities of the town, the beach, of course, and the bay. So it was kind of two different but coexisting worlds that I thought was very enriching.
Looking back, who were some of the giants of your childhood?
My mother.
Yeah, I was going to say my grandmother, our great aunt Sarah,
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Harmon, Angie's family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
how about if we stop with one of those? Pick one.
I would say my father, Bob Hall.
Tell me about your father.
My father, everybody knew Bob Hall. Everybody in town knew Bob Hall. Everybody in town knew Bob Hall. And when anything went wrong, they would say, go up to Bob Hall, go get Bob Hall, he'll fix it. Whether it was the backyard chicken fence or a tire on the car, go get Bob Hall. That was one person. This other person in town that I remember distinctly was Mike Lennon. He was our policeman.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Lennon knew everybody when I was growing up. When I was a child. He knew every child in town and knew their parents. You dare not act up, because Mike Lennon would say, hey, Doris, do you want me to go visit Robert and Bob tonight and tell them that you were acting up? No, sir, Mr. Lennon. You better get your act together. But they stood out. Mike Lennon and of course, the principal of the school, he was very instrumental in our growing up. This is in my era, but I'm way older than these.
Mm-hmm.
So they can tell you about theirs.
Okay. How about anybody else want to pick up somebody special to talk about?
I want to say my mother she was the best mom there ever was.
Oh, wow.
Or I can't compare, but I can say she was.
Okay, what was her name?
Dorothy Hall
And
Robinson.
Was she born in Stone Harbor?
I don't know. Doris, do you know?
I don't remember. I can't remember if she was.
Okay.
She attended the schools there.
Yeah, she went to school there. Yeah.
I think she was probably born in either Wildwood or Philadelphia,
because it was
but she Anna and Helen, her sister, attended Stone Harbor Elementary School. So she grew up there.
mhm.
Well, let's jump to the church. I don't know. I mean, the AME church was not for everybody. How many of you were members there?
I was. All our family was.
Were they?
Hmm.
I was, yes.
I wasn't a member. I would attend in the summertime with my Aunt Hattie. I was a member of the Baptist Church in Whitesburg, Jersey.
You can see the church in the back of Rose, in the back of Rose's door. Do you see the church back there?
Right.
That was our church.
How important a part of your lives was the church?
It was very important because that's where we grew to know about God and love and taking care of one another. My grandfather was the custodian. We didn't have a oil heater or anything like that back then when I was growing up. We had a wood stove in the center of the church, and he would get up early Sunday morning and get it started, get the stove started, so that when Sunday school would start, we would all come in for Sunday school. Those of us that are my age, with the neighboring children around in the neighborhood, these were all black children. There were no white children went to our Sunday school. But we had a Sunday school, and we had a Mrs. Annie Wright, who lived across on another street, but her front faced our street. She was the Sunday school superintendent. She took care of things. Um, most all the children in the neighborhood went to Sunday school Sunday morning.
Did that continue?
Did not go. Rodriguez and Sharon, do you remember going to Sunday school there? Or it was closed by the time
Oh, yeah, definitely. In my generation, Aunt Sarah, your
Yes.
aunt, my great aunt, she
Mhm.
became superintendent. And
Right.
she was also the pianist for the church.
Oh yeah. That's
Uh, and I think our church was a hub for any Black people coming to town in the summer. They would also use our church.
right.
So yeah, we were like a hub for cross seasons, I think. We also had Bible study in the summer.
Yes.
You remember Bible study with the Bryant family?
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yes.
That was a Bible school, Bible camp every summer for the children. Mhm.
I remember the Christmas and Easter programs.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Aunt Sarah would play, and we would sing all the songs. And at the end, we would get for Easter, we would get the cross with the jelly beans, the chocolate cross, and then Christmas time we get the box of chocolate.
Mhm.
Everyone got a box of chocolate. That's what I remember.
Was there a particular minister?
Yes.
Yeah. But they would come from maybe Philadelphia, Camden. Ours came from Camden when I was growing up.
So they would
When
come
I-
in on Sunday.
We lived right there in Stone Harbor.
Yeah, when I was there was Reverend Anderson.
Yeah.
Related to the Andersons here?
No,
Yeah.
he lives in Palmyra now. His church is in Palmyra.
Okay.
He's pastor of a church in Palmyra, an AME church. UAME. Now, see, the church in Stone Harbor was United African American Methodist Episcopal Church. So that's the difference. It was UAME, and there's also AME, but the one in Stone Harbor was UAME, and there's not a lot of those churches.
Okay. Well, how long were services in those days?
Well, when I was growing up, we would have it about an hour and a half, something like that. But
Yeah, I don't remember.
there were a lot of children, not that many adults were out, but a lot of children would come to Sunday school, and most of them would stay for afternoon service, and we had a little choir that we would sing. But see, I'm way older than these.
Yeah. When I attended, I would attend with Aunt Hattie. She was a deaconess, and she would do communion. So she'd have to prepare the communion in the morning and get there early to set that up with the white linen on the tables, the communion table. That's what I remember.
Okay.
What I remember is a pastor from different churches that would attend during the summertime, because wintertime we didn't really have church, but in the summertime, that's when they came.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, Aunt Sarah and the women of the community would prepare meals for any, like after church, we would have fellowship and they would prepare huge dinners for the people who were visiting from out of town.
Was there a kitchen in the place?
No.
No.
Yeah, this was at Aunt Sarah and Mom's house. They did the cooking.
At your house and bring it there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, there would be people at my grandparents' house too. That's what I remember. People would visit that I didn't know and that type of thing.
Mhm.
Can we switch to the schools for a minute? Angela, you didn't go to school here, but did everybody else go to elementary school?
Yes.
Yeah.
What are your memories of that school? This was back early. It was the one at 93rd Street, the one that had been built in 1915 or 14.
94th, and then the school was on 94th Street that I attended. The school had four classrooms. Kindergarten, first and second on the first floor. Third and fourth on the first floor. Fifth and sixth on the second floor, and seventh and eighth on the second floor. There was like one black child almost in each classroom, because there weren't that many black children in the whole town. When I was growing up, I was the only one in mine. My cousin before me was the only child in her class. Remember Leela Harris? Did anybody remember Leela? You remember Leela Harris? That's before them. Well, Leela Harris was a year ahead of me. And then it was me, and then it was John. John Robertson was ahead of me too. And then Rose was a year behind me. We were in class and in age. But it was mostly more, and there was not more than 2 black children in each class. Mostly it was just one, because there weren't that many black children in the whole town.
How many would you say?
In the whole town? When I was growing up?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. It was, let's see there.
I have this impression as 81st Street being sort of overrun with kids.
Yeah, we had a lot of children, but I'd say less than 50. Less than 50. Yes, much less than.
Yeah, sure.
Much less than 50. But the Robersons and the McCargos had the most.
Okay.
Then the Andersons moved to Stone Harbor.
The Andersons were out of town moving in.
They were from Virginia. That's this Shannon's father's people.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. But they came along later, because they lived in Virginia, and then they decided to move to Stone Harbor.
Was there any racism in the schools?
I can't think of any.
Mm-hmm.
Roseanne, Shannon?
I don't think there was any blatant racism in the school. It was just, you just knew that was certain places you didn't go, or you didn't go to.
We sat in the back of the movies, but the movies, we sat in the back of the movies, but the movies was only open in the summertime when I was a kid. It was only open in the summertime.
Well, the only places we ever went was, well, we did go to the movies occasionally, but the bowling alley was the main thing we went to.
Doris, the bowling alley was after your time, right? Bowling alley didn't start till 1950 or 49 or something like that.
Well, it came in, they were building it, but I was beginning to move away.
Right.
Mhm.
Where was the bowling alley? What street?
96, 96th Street.
96
And the
and
beach.
First Avenue.
Yeah, at the, where the,
On the corner of
Civic Club.
96 and
It,
First.
it was, yeah, it was where the Civic Club is now, Angela, on 96 between First and the beach.
Okay. Yeah.
Well,
All I remember is the movie theater and miniature golf. That's all I remember. I don't remember a bowling alley.
Yeah, the bowling alley was opened and owned by the Schaefers that lived next door to the Moores on 92nd Street.
I mean, to the best of my knowledge, there was no systemic racism in the school. And there was no segregation of the beach or the movie theater. That era had passed by the time I was born or started school.
Mhm.
So while I hear stories of segregation and, derogatory name calling, I can honestly say that my sister and I never experienced anything like that throughout our time in town. We went to the beach where we wanted to go. We went to the movies. We sat where we wanted to sit. We bowled wherever we wanted to. I can honestly say that, we were spared any of those racial indignities.
John Roberson, when I interviewed him, mentioned being about 12 or 13 and going to the movies with some friends. And they wanted to sit down front. I guess this was in the late 40s. And they did go sit down front, and the usher came down and told him he couldn't sit there. And all the friends said, "What do you mean he can't sit here? Of course he can sit here."
Mhm.
And the usher went away.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It-
That's huge.
Yeah, I
That's-
mean, because there were so few Black children, well, not because of, but, at least in my generation, my friends were white.
Yeah.
The people I grew up with, summertime and winter, were all white.
Well, there
So
were
whenever we did anything,
there were more-
even with the
more-
Black children, we were with our white friends.
there were more
Like I
black
said, so
children. There were more Black children in my generation than there was in your. By the
that's
time
right,
you all had come along, they had moved away.
right,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
See, and I went to school in Middle Township and Cape May Courthouse. So when I came to Stone Harbor, I had, like Harold and Kevin Romney and Gregory to play with. And then I had other friends that lived in Avalon and Stone Harbor that were classmates. And I would, play with them as well, be at their homes. But as far as like hanging out on the beach, I kind of tended to hang on 81st Street because that was just my favorite place. I would do 96 though if I were down there for other activities, but I really pretty much, like Sharon said, just went wherever I wanted to go and just enjoyed life for the most part.
And as far as the beach, when I was growing up, my mother, we went to the beach at 81st Street, but my mother wouldn't allow us to go any further because she could see us. And
Oh, yeah.
she could see
Mhm.
us,
Right.
we just, and people didn't let their kids go to the beach as much because our parents feared water a lot. Now that I think back, they feared water. Oh no, you can't go there. I had a cousin that had come down from Morristown for the day one time. I vaguely remember this. We were little, and he drowned in the ocean. After that, it just seemed like my mother and them wouldn't let us go to the ocean. But the ocean wasn't something that we went to a lot.
Mhm.
And Doris, I often heard, now I don't know if it's true,
Uh-huh.
that mom loved the ocean and that she was a very good swimmer
Yeah, she was.
and she stayed in the water. Is that true? Do you recall that?
Your mother was a good swimmer, yeah. But by the
Yeah.
time your mother was a teenager,
Uh-huh.
it fluctuated up and down and up and down. Me as a teenager, I didn't go to the beach that much because I worked. I started taking care of those more children when I was 13,
Right.
and I was
Uh-huh.
very so I don't know what was going on that much. But I took them to the beach, and we went to 92nd Street Beach.
Yes.
The ocean wasn't the greatest thing in our life.
I used to go and stay all day.
No, with
I
me.
wasn't working, so I would get up early in the morning and
Right.
go to the beach and stay there all day till the lifeguards woke me up.
I was
Right.
I went
Yep.
to work in 13.
So was the beach integrated, Roseanne?
Was a
81st Street?
Well, I can't really say because we stayed on 81st Street Beach. You know what I mean? When I went to 81st Street Beach. I might go as far as 83rd Street,
Mhm.
but that was about as far as we went. But I don't think it was race because of any racial indignities.
yeah. No, I
Uh-huh.
don't either.
I had one thing that I can't find is the Carstairs Hotel.
The Carstairs was on 2nd Avenue at 80th Street.
On the beach side.
No, on this
No, on the other side.
Bayside.
It's Jim, it's where the Golden Shores condominiums are. That's where it was.
Oh,
Okay. How big was it?
I don't know how big it is now, but it was big. It had 2 floors, and it had apartments on the 2nd floor.
Okay.
A couple of the Pattersons, Jim Patterson lived up, and his wife lived up there. And then the downstairs was like a dance floor and a stage and stuff like that, because we used to have little programs over there.
One of the things of a good community does is it prepares you for success in life. Do you feel that you got a good preparation from your growing up on 81st Street?
I feel I did because I couldn't see separations. I saw separations when I moved away, the black, the white separation. When I was a kid, we were just kids. We were just people. Most of us, the black people that lived on 81st Street with the whites living around the corner, and then later on in life, some other people lived around the corner. But we were very close. I remember growing up. We were very close. But I'm 89 years old, so that's a long time ago. A lot happened
But
after
it stays with you, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. But I remember Mike Leonard. Of all the people, of all the white people that I remember Mike Leonard. He was, now that I think back, he was strict, but now that I think, he was the nicest person you ever want to meet. And he was for you, and he didn't like a lot of acting out and being bad and things like that. But I remember him. Of all the people that I can think of, I remember him. Of course, my teachers in the elementary school.
Mm-hmm. Mike Lennon's son was in this fall, and we did an interview with him. He talked about growing up here and stuff. Yes.
Oh, I like
Uh,
him.
and we brought in a lot of pictures. I mean, one of the things that we definitely hope that this talk, when we put it on, will stir people's memories and that we can get some more pictures and even more stories.
Well,
Because we would like to do a movie, a little
mhm.
documentary movie, maybe 20 or 30 minutes, about 81st Street. Tell me about your trip to Washington, D.C.
There were 76 children in my class. I went to Middle Township High School. There were 76 kids, 10 black, 2 boys, and 8 girls. Okay, when we get to Washington, Miss Black, just before we stopped, our teacher came to us and told us that the girls would be staying one place and the boys would be staying another because they were segregated. We didn't understand all that. So the 2 boys went to Howard University to spend the night because we were there 3 nights. And the girls, the 8 girls, went to this lady's house. She had a huge 3-story house. But she had a daughter that was a senior also, and she was graduating from high school. But they were used to being separated. So we went to her house. She took all 8 of us, and the 2 boys went to Howard. in the daytime, when we would go visit the different museums and stuff, we'd be together. But in the evening, when they would go to the parks and stuff like that, we had to be separated. But again, this lady who had a daughter who was a senior would take us places where they would go. Take the 10 of us, all 10 of us. But we had never been separated as a class before. And
What year was this?
some children got very upset. And when we got to Washington and found out that we were being separated, they called back home to tell their parents that, something had happened. And we couldn't stay together. And some kids were very, especially the girls, got very upset. But it didn't bother me as long as we had a place to stay. And my when I called my mother, she said, "Well, what happened?" Because there's some of the children are calling home saying that you're being separated, because we had never been separated before. So I said, "Well, yes, the girls, the black children are. Well, we didn't say black, we said colored. That we would call colored, and weren't black. The colored children are staying in one place, and the white children are staying in the hotel, and we can't stay there with them." So I said, "We got a real nice house. The lady has a nice house for us and everything." And of course, the boys were staying at Howard University. And Howard University was one of the most foremost black colleges in the United States, So that went over well. But as I say, some of the parents had gotten upset about it, but it was nothing from us. We had a good time. But I'll always remember we were separated. That was the first time that I'd ever faced, this you go here and you go there kind of thing. You can't go there. And you can't go there. But we had a good time.
Greg, shifting gears a little bit, tell us about your work as a huckster.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I worked with Jim and Gladys Still on Huffster trucks.
Yeah.
There were two trucks.
Mhm.
Gladys had one in Avalon, Jim had one in Stone Harbor.
Mhm.
And then after a while, Gladys just stopped running in Avalon. We stopped doing Avalon altogether, but we did Stone Harbor.
Mhm.
And Stone Harbor, we would do from 80th Street to 96th Street one day and do the other end of town the next day. It was interesting. I met some nice people, met some not so nice people. And the biggest thing was when we hit 81st Street, that took a while to get down 81st Street because we talked a lot to the people who lived there because we knew.
Is that where you met Rose?
No, actually, I met Rose in high school.
Okay. This was like when you were in high school, and you ran the whole day that you were doing.
Well, pretty much. Once I got off, I huckstered from age 13 to 15. Then we started coming over to Stone Harbor to play basketball at 96th Street, and I guess we kind of seen each other in the bowling alley, but I didn't know who she was, and I wasn't interested because I was playing basketball. That was my thing. And then
once
we got to high school,
was that basketball court integrated?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean, we didn't have any problems coming from offshore into Stone Harbor, as long as we stayed on 96th Street between the bowling alley and the courts. Once we left the courts and started walking, usually the cops would want to stop you and see who you were. And then once they got to know who you were, it was okay. If we came to the beach, most of the time we went down to 81st Street Beach. You could get there without getting a ticket. I guess it was kind of like a control thing. When I worked there, I worked at the Seabreeze Hotel, restaurant hotel. I lived there one summer. So, they got used to you and, and it was no big deal. You didn't see anything wrong with it.
I thought it was interesting. You're dating. Tell me about how you got over it.
Well,
you were living in Swayton.
I lived in Swayton. I would walk, hitchhike, ride a bike, any way I could get to Stone Harbor, I'd get there. It was like that.
Rose, do you want to tell the story about the Shelter Haven, working at the Shelter Haven?
Yeah, I worked at the Shelter Haven for a short period of time. And I met John Facenda there. He was he stayed there. And I didn't know who he was. He would never let me in his room. He would always put his towels and stuff outside the door. And all I had to do was replenish them. And when he left, he gave me like a $50 tip.
Mm.
And I'm saying, whoa, like that was really cool for not going in his room and cleaning up. But that was one thing. And then another thing, by working at the Shelter Haven, I told my husband now that I want to go back and stay as a guest. And he said, okay. So we was coming down here for a cotillion, or so I don't know whether Sharon or Audrey was in the cotillion, but anyway, we came down and we stayed at the Shelter Haven. And when you walked in, there was nobody there because it's winter. So there's nobody at the desk. They just leave the key there. When we left, the guy says to me, where were you? And I said, in whatever room we were in. He said, you were what? And I said, we were there. So he said, oh, okay. But I mean, he was really, really shocked. But that was my goal. My long-term goal was to go back to the Shelter Haven and be a guest as opposed to working there.
I remember this, and it stands out in my mind that 1941, when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, it was on a Sunday. So when we went to school the next morning, we had never heard of Pearl Harbor. And we thought, well, they didn't bomb. Only harbors we knew were Stone Harbor and Egg Harbor. Well, we knew they hadn't bombed Stone Harbor, but we weren't sure of Egg Harbor because people weren't too sure about what was going on. Because we were 10 years old. I was 10 years old in 1941. So the principal got us all in one classroom, took the whole school in one classroom and put the map up and showed us exactly where Pearl Harbor was on the map. And that's how we found out about Pearl Harbor. Well, as time went on, some of the older boys in our neighborhood, like the Marcargo boys and the Roberson boys, went into the service. And I remember young Jim McCargo went into the Marines. And he came home. I think he had gone to college first and then he went into the Marines. I know that's a little vague. But anyhow, he came home and he had on his uniform, the Marine uniform. And he paraded up and down the street, up and down 81st Street. Everybody came out and clapped and clapped. We were so happy and so glad. And all he did was walk up and down the street with his uniform on. And that sticks out in my mind as one of the greatest things that ever happened during World War II.
The two of the Robersons were in the war. Were they both officers?
I don't remember. I really
One
don't.
was a second lieutenant.
One was a lieutenant. Yeah.
And then I thought John was too in Korea.
I had left home by that time, but I remember Jim McCargo, young Jim McCargo, with that Marine uniform on, marching up and down the street, and everybody came out. Just the whole street just came out and just clapped and just were so happy to see him in that uniform.
That's great.
Yeah, my dad was in the Korean War. He served in Germany. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, I think his brothers were
they were all
abroad
in,
in war. Yeah.
But I had left town by that time.
Yeah, one of your questions was to talk a little bit about the Stone Harbor Elementary School, the quality of the school. And I should say, I remember vividly, I guess I was in 3rd grade and the teacher would have been maybe Mrs. Walton, told my mother Catherine, your daughter is going, no, she would have called her Mrs. Anderson, your daughter is going to be a teacher.
Mhm.
And here I am, a retired teacher. I think the school, not just, I hope I don't sound biased, but the school's curriculum was strictly Western and European,
Mhm.
but the school centered reading and writing.
Yeah,
And anybody who went to Stone, I think Roseanne, you would agree with this, right?
right,
That was
right.
key for them.
Mhm.
So anything to do with words and language was critical in that curriculum. And I think they inspired us to be readers and writers. I really do believe that. So yeah, it was and the school was small. I mean, I think there were only 11 people in my classroom, which would have comprised 2 classes. So first and second had a classroom and one teacher, third and fourth, fifth and sixth, seventh and eighth.
Mhm.
I think that was the other reason the school was so excellent, because we had so much attention from the teachers.
Penmanship. A lot of people would say, "Oh, you went to Catholic school." No, I
Yes,
didn't go to Catholic school.
right, right. So parents would kill to get their children into Stone Harbor School. And I still hear that that's the case
I
from
heard
people in town.
that was near the end of mine time too. That everybody wanted to come to Stone Harbor. Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah. So it's an excellent school. I'm sure it is the same. I don't know. I mean, there have been a lot of changes in town that I can see, but I don't know so much about the school system anymore.
Well, I think because it's small and small classes,
Mhm.
there's a lot of attention paid, and yeah, there's a lot of good students coming out of there.
Well, there's
Hmm.
the Avalon School and Stone Harbor School kind of conjoined and split. Up to a certain grade, you go
Oh,
to Avalon, and then after that, you come over to Stone Harbor because of
oh,
the lack of students,
Oh,
uh-huh.
year-round
Yeah.
students. The towns have gotten small,
oh,
and
Hmm.
when I was, everybody had their own. Avalon had their own, and Stone Harbor had their own when I was a kid.
Right.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, I think we were very well prepared to go to high school.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, and it was encouraged in our family. You
Oh.
know, the other thing I think I learned in town was the value of the hard work ethic.
Mhm.
You know, you worked hard, you commit yourself to something, you stick to it, and there will be a reward after that.
Mhm.
Um, I think that was from not just our families who demonstrated the hard work ethic,
Mhm.
but from school as well.
Yeah.
It was very important in our community for people
Mhm.
to take learning seriously.
yeah, I think if anybody spent any time on 81st Street or knew Arthur, Gorgeous, Elwood, they know how hard those guys
Yeah,
work. I mean,
exactly.
they work sometimes, 12, 15 hours a day. And,
Yes, indeed.
that allowed them to do and accumulate what they had. And they worked hard. I spent a lot
Hmm.
of time. I've seen it, you know.
Yeah.
Mm.
I
Christmas.
think Dad got me my first job when I was 12. I'm sure it was illegal to be working at 12, and he was a policeman. But my first job was at First People's Bank. I was a bank teller.
At
And
12?
I would work there in the summers with Howard Hughes. I'll never forget it.
Hmm.
Because my father insisted, much to my mother's unhappiness, that my sister and I were going to work.
Mhm.
Work was key for him. You got no free rides, girls or no girl. I don't care what your gender is. You're going to work. You're going to learn how to be independent. Um, Another gift.
How
Mhm.
did all of this, or this miracle, come to an end, and when? I mean, it's this incredibly vibrant community in the 40s and 50s and through the 60s, and now, you know, basically there is no community down on 81st anymore. I don't know. Sharon, is there?
Yeah, yeah. There are. Let's see. My sister, myself, The Romneys,
Okay.
that they come from the Savage and Bryant family. They were summer families that visited, during the summer season.
Mhm.
But they have a home there. And then there's one more family. Mr. Bob Pryor,
Mm-hmm.
his niece and her family now live in a yellow house on 81st Street. It's 2 doors down from where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 4 families in Stone Harbor now. None of us full time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
The full-time community ended in the 80s.
I would say Aunt Blanche was the last. No. Aunt Blanche was my father's sister-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
She sold her house, I think in the 80s, and moved to Cape May Courthouse.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just my dad and his brother, Uncle Elwood.
Mm-hmm.
They both passed. Dad died in 2000, I don't know, 16, 17. And those were all the old souls were gone at that. He was the last.
Okay.
He asked us not to sell the house, to hang on to it as long as we possibly could. In the meantime, my sister built a house on the street, down by the Public Works that would be near 3rd Avenue.
Mhm.
So she's on 81st Street. And then, like I said, the 2 other families.
One of the questions, is there any place you couldn't go on the island?
During my generation,
Yeah.
say from 1955 on, no. There was no place we could not visit or attend.
About Doris?
Well, when I was growing up, we just didn't go. We had our own thing to do, and my parents worked. My father worked night and day, so he didn't go anyplace. My mother, we did house things. People would go to one another's house, but as far as and the car stairs, they went to the car stairs when it was open. But as far as going out to dinner and all that stuff like that, no, we didn't do a whole lot of that.
Mhm.
And I left home right after high school.
Right. So early 50s. You were gone by then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I don't remember.
Rose, do you have anything to say on that?
Well, my dad used to take me to the bar, and he would have me up on the table singing,
Mm-hmm.
but outside of that,
Mm-hmm.
What bar?
I think it was Henny's.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Were you singing or was he singing?
I was. He
You were
would
good-
make me sing because I could sing.
Mm-hmm.
At early age, I could sing.
And
I do have a story to add to this. It's about the yacht club.
the yacht club.
So my dad and his brothers, they had a boat. They bought a boat. It was a Chris Craft. I'll never forget it. And one of them wanted to join the yacht club. And I remember my dad saying, "You'll never become a member. You have to be invited to be a member. And no one at that yacht club will invite you to be a member. You don't have enough money, first of all. You're not wealthy."
Mm-hmm.
And so they forgot it. They kept the boat. They forgot about the yacht club. And then I'm going to say before my mom died. So let's say late 1990s.
Mm-hmm.
A man came from the yacht club. I'll never forget it. He rang the doorbell. Mom and dad let him in. They were sitting around talking, and he said, "We would be honored if you would join the yacht club."
Oh.
And my poor dad didn't get a chance to say a word. My mother said, "Absolutely not." When the family owned a boat and they would have wanted to become members, you would not allow them to become members.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason. I don't know if it was segregation, just we weren't wealthy enough or whatever, but you wouldn't let us.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're not. We have too much dignity and too much pride. We're not going to join the yacht club.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget that story either.
Low battery.
So I think the yacht club,
We got a low battery thing up on the thing.
well, I mean, I think there was a moment when the yacht club was both, what do I want to say? Class. You know, if you didn't have a lot of money, you know, you weren't not. I think class was as much of a problem as race. That's
Right.
what I want to say.
Okay.
So it could have been class, it could have been race. But anyway, my mother was not having any part of it. No way.
When I was a kid, I was a youngster. We didn't even think about going over there. We had our own stuff to do. It never
Right.
dawned on, it didn't dawn on us that was white, that was black. We stayed in our spot, they stayed in their spot. If I remember rightly. I don't remember a whole lot of you can't go here business.
We need to wrap this up. And we certainly, I would like to continue this conversation. A shout out, Angela's not here, but she's trying to organize a reunion for next September or early October. We would love to hear from people, black, white, stories. We'd love to have pictures and stories. So if you've got some, please think about sharing them, because we'd like to put this together as a movie.
Okay.
Last chance here. Any particular day that you would remember? Can you remember any moments that you would like that you think about when you hear 81st Street?
I think the 4th of July, and I think Sharon, you would remember the shenanigans that used to go on the 4th of July. That was just hilarious. And we couldn't wait to the next 4th of July to see who was going to act up. There was no acting up, really. It was just everybody was happy.
Right.
And they demonstrated when the fireworks went off. You know, they would do different antics, and it was just something to see.
Mm-hmm. I
You
agree.
had
I
to be
remember.
there.
When I was growing up, Christmas was always great. Christmas was, this is great. My father would wait till Christmas Eve and go up in the woods in Avalon and chop down a tree and drag it home. And then the man across the street, Mr. Dick Turner, they'd try to see who could get the best looking tree. And we'd have to decorate it, you know, Christmas Eve.
No, well, in Christmas time now, there's not many people left on the island.
No.
I mean, obviously, all the summer people are gone.
It was just us. And then the fire department would give every child in town a gift. I remember that. No matter if they had just been born that morning, they got a gift. And the Santa Claus would come by and bring you your gift, and he'd be on the fire truck.
That's a great image.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Got a picture of that? I'd love to see.
I don't think I have a picture of
No.
that. But I remember that. I remember Santa Claus coming and giving every child in the island got a gift from Santa Claus. That's why it was so hard for me to understand that there was no Santa Claus. This girl told me that there was no Santa Claus. And I knew that there was. And my mother said, I told my mother said, well, you believe that there is, then there is. But I could not believe that there's.
Well, I heard him on the roof.
Well, he came to our door. He came to our door and handed us a gift. Yeah.
How about, Angela, you've talked a few times about the fun of being a kid growing up on 81st Street.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit and see if anybody else agrees with you?
For me, it was fun because I was able to ride my bike up and down the street, and Stone Harbor had a sidewalk. Like where I lived in Cape May Courthouse, there's no sidewalk. So I was able to ride my bike I was able to ride as a young child around the block. So I would start at Aunt Sarah's house and come past Audrey and Sharon's house and then come back again. I wasn't allowed to ride the whole full square block until I got older. My mother had to be able to see me from one corner to another. And then as I got older, I was able to cross the street by myself, just able to do more things. But I had a lot of freedom. And, I remember Miss Piccolo's store. I was able to go there, cross the street by myself and buy candy. Mm-hmm. I was able to go to the beach until the lifeguards left. And then I had to come home. I had to come home at lunchtime and then could go back and then come back again. And then once I got to be a teenager, I used to be able to ride my bike to 96th Street and go to the movies, get ice cream, go shopping, hang out, go to Hoy's. But it was usually like a bunch of us. So it was great times because it was just a lot of freedom. There was no fear. It was just, we used to ride our bikes to Avalon because my cousin Sandy was in track. So as she was preparing, like she would run along beside me as I rode my bike because she was training. So we would ride from 81st Street to downtown Avalon. So that's a nice little ride. But it was a lot of fun. And, no one was worried about where you were. Or there were no cell phones. No one was like, oh, where did she go? It's like, I just went to Avalon and I'll be back. As long as it was daytime, you were fine. And there was no trouble, no fights, no nothing. It was just a wonderful place to be.
It wasn't until I was grown up and moved away and lived many places in the world that I realized the freedom that she was talking about and this sense of safety that represented our town. I mean, you could just be anywhere and feel safe and free. You could ride your bike, like you said, go to the beach. There was always someone around in case you needed anything. I ran into, him, Jimmy Hand. I went to through elementary school with him. I ran into him maybe a year or so ago, and he said, Sharon, we grew up in paradise. And I have often wondered what he meant by that word. I've thought about it many, many times. I've talked to my sister about it. And the more I think about it and listen to other people talk about their past and their childhoods, it really was a kind of paradise where we grew up. It was almost a magical, and maybe it was the ocean. I don't know what it was, but I think that freedom that you're talking about and that sense of safety is part of what he was probably talking about.
Well, that was a fascinating conversation with our friends from 81st Street. We'd like to thank you for watching. Also, a very special thanks goes out to our roundtable participants, Greg and Rose Hudgins, Sharon Anderson Lewis, Angela Rodriguez Moore, and the inimitable Doris Reddick. If you have any stories or photos regarding this topic, we would love to hear from you. We are working on a longer film project that will be due later in the year. This discussion is the kickoff of a year-long tribute to the miracle on 81st Street, the community that thrived there, and the poignant memories of their youthful paradise. For the Stone Harbor Museum, this is Jim Talone.